It's Monday, but not really Monday. It's another new edition of the Chat Pack Podcast. There's only two of us. It's the two-man group, not the blue man group here at the Chat Pack. Oh, boy. I was rolling there for a second, but too many. I'm hitting that point after a long day of working where, you know, the old brain just says, nah, dude. No more. No mas. It's Friday, but it's not really Friday for me. So, but you still get that Friday feeling. You can feel the weekend energy from the other people that do work normal weekday hours.
Yeah.
That was a setup for you, Trevor. That was for you to come in with some biting commentary.
I was just enjoying the soothing sounds of your voice, and it's been a hell of a week for me as well. So I'm just I'm barely alive over here. Well,
it hasn't been a hell of a week in a bad way. I've had a wonderful week with my girlfriend here in the Windy City, but today at work is just. You know, work's just draining there. But this is, of course, the Chat Pack Podcast where we talk about this, that, and the other thing. There's usually four of us, but there hasn't been four of us in a very long time. And we're down to two this week as the other half of the pack are out doing some traveling, some very cool traveling, actually. So that should lead to some good chatting when they both get back on the podcast. Hopefully next week. I don't think either one of them would have a good reason to not be on the podcast next week.
Plus, we're going to force a microphone into their face.
Yeah, well, Ben, I think, will be back from his traveling and will be gearing up for school starting, I would imagine, relatively soon for him, considering do we call mid-August? Or are we chalking it up, or is it still the beginning of August? It's closer to mid-August than the beginning of August.
Time is going by so fast. Like, we actually...
Dude, it's crazy.
We just hired on a couple of new people at my job, and my boss was like, oh, yeah, they're going to start on the 26th or whatever day. And we were like, wow, why are they starting so late? And he's like, well, that's 2 weeks from now, because, 2 weeks notice. And we were just like, fuck. Wow. I can't believe it's already, 2 weeks is near the end of August, and it's almost the fall. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yep. I turned the ripe old age of 25 years. In 9 days.
You got a birthday in a few weeks, right?
Yep. I will be. I'll be. What is it? The
quarter of a century.
Yeah, the quarter of a century. Ava beat me to it. So this week I went and picked up Ava on her birthday from Cincy because she was visiting the fam, and then she's been up hanging out here in Chicago ever since. She survived now nearly a full week with me. So there you go.
That's a keeper.
Yeah. Well, we got to get it, all of our couple time in while we can, considering that she lives on the other side of the country from me. But it's great. We've been having a blast. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do tonight, but she wants to do something. I'm tired. So we'll see how this Clash of Titans goes down.
So what's it like to date an older woman, Paul?
I think the majority of my serious relationships have all been with women that are older than me. So, I don't know. They're more mature. I need maturity in my life, Trevor, as I'm kind of lacking it, as you may know.
That's interesting because in past episodes you've accused me of being an old soul, and I've always dated women who are younger than me.
You might say that could go with the old soul thing, but that would be creepy old soul.
It's like, well, we don't need to go that direction with it. I was thinking two halves of the puzzle, opposites attract sort of thing.
Yeah, but I haven't ever seen you, to be totally honest, interact with any girl that wasn't your girlfriend. So I have no claims to that. The only girl I've seen you be interested in is the one you've been dating for 6 years? 5 years?
4.5.
4.5. That makes sense, because 6 years was total time in Athens for me, and you guys didn't start dating until the end of sophomore year, or was it start of junior year?
Yeah, it was the end of sophomore year, because it was when I lived with Caleb.
The lobster. I'm excited to hear about his trip from Scotland, and mostly about the golf, to be totally honest. Because I'm very, Scotland, famous for their golfing.
I mean, they invented it, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And Caleb also probably played horribly. But fun golf story with Caleb. We played on the OU course, and I probably had the best chip shot of my entire golfing life. I'm not a good golfer at all. I can drive the heck out of a ball, but I can't play the short game. But I had this beautiful chip from a bunker, and it just one bounce on the green, and then roll, boom, sunk. And I wasn't supposed to, but I definitely popped off a little loud on the old links there.
That's awesome. I'm a terrible golfer, so I've never had any experiences like that.
I mean, I like to play golf, but I feel like for me, 9 holes is enough. Like, I don't need the full 18, I don't think.
Have you ever done... Oh, man, I literally just had it. I just blanked on it. It's like bowling, but the driving range. Top golf. Have you ever done Top golf?
No, not yet. I've really wanted to, but a little out of the price range sometimes. Most times.
Really? I have not been yet either, but I've heard it's just super awesome. Super fun.
It looks super awesome. It looks super great.
Like, even if you're a terrible golfer like myself, I've heard it's real fun.
Well, yeah, because it's a driving range. Like, you just have to hit the crap out of the ball. Like, that's really all you need to do. I know you got, like, an objective and there's points and all that stuff, and you, like, hit the certain rings, but, like, it is also a driving range. So you can also just...
And I think there's a lot of alcohol involved, so...
Oh, yeah. Of course, there's a lot of alcohol involved. But, yeah, and then Ben was doing some hiking in New York, and... he took some good pictures. I'm excited to hear more about that. But that'll be later on down the line once those guys come back. But, Trevor, I do have a update from Podcast Previous. That could be a new segment. An
previous episode?
From Podcast Previous.
Shoot. I meant to grab the soundbite of whatever you said, because last time I said we have some changes to make or something, and you shouted out something, and I was like, I need to grab that soundbite, and this will just be a bit each time.
Well, there you go. I'm sure there's a couple in there, but so my roommate Ian hooked it up big time and booked Ava and I a dinner at his restaurant, and not only booked us but comped the whole meal.
Damn.
Yeah, so we didn't pay $1. We paid $20 in tip. That's but probably too little too. But there was gratuity on the bill, and then anyway. But he also, because originally the plan was that, because it was something he was really excited. He really wanted to do it because Ava and I were both celebrating our birthdays, and so it was kind of like I was like, I wanted to do it, but I was like, I just can't afford that. But it would have been really cool. But yeah, so then he was just like, hey, I set up a reservation. Go eat, and it'll be on the house. And I was, on him, actually, not on the house.
Dang.
But so, yeah, he's like, all you got to do is buy booze. And so I was like, all right, well, I mean.
So you were like, I'll have a water, please.
No, because I was ready, and and I knew going in there, like, that place, you gotta, it ain't cheap. Like, go in there.
Are you allowed to shout out the restaurant? What's the restaurant?
Yeah, it's Smith. It's called Smith, and it's in Chicago, and it's part of Smith and Loyalist, and it's one of those deals where you pay and they serve you courses. You don't order anything other than drinks, of course, but they have the menu prepared, and they bring you the food, and like, it is smaller portions, but Ava and I were stuffed by the end of it, because I think Ian also, we know for a fact, snuck in a couple extra courses for us, but it was really interesting, dude. The food was out of control. Like, in turn, say what you will about the portion size and the price of that stuff. Like, at least, like, everything we ate, even if I didn't like love it as like in terms of the flavor, like I did some other things, it was so interesting that it was like I would never eat something like that, or like think to have something like that. The first dish was
that's awesome, dude.
So, like, it was like a raspberry slush with like a oyster or like a shellfish oyster infused like little bits in there. We had blueberries that were like with flower petals and like all this stuff. And Ian specially made us the pine cone ice cream.
Oh,
yeah. So that's where this all leads back to.
So that's like
the pine cone sundae, and it's really good.
that's a can I say titular Chat Pack episode?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that using that word correctly?
I think so. It's a good segment there. Maybe somehow throw in case you missed it, but that seems like it might interrupt the flow of the conversation. But yeah, no.
Go check out the pine cone ice cream episode.
I think it's titled Pine Cone Ice Cream, right?
Yeah.
Or did you guys pick something else?
No,
it was Pine Cone. Yeah, go check out the episode Pine Cone Ice Cream for more reference to what I'm talking about and me taking a totally different perspective on this whole experience. Because it was really cool because that was the whole thing my roommate wanted. He was like, the reason why we do this, or like I do it, is to celebrate things, and like you guys are celebrating. And so, yeah, so we went in thinking that we paid for the booze. And so Ava and I are looking at the wine list, and we're doing it. I was ready to spend a little bit of money. I was like, let's, if I only have to pay for the booze, I just paid off my credit card. I was like, let's, we're here. We got to indulge a little bit.
Out.
We got to, we were like, let's get a bottle of wine, cause like when the glasses of wine are almost $20 a pop, it's like, I'd rather just buy the bottle. And like, we thought we were going in there. So they sit you in a lounge area, and then, to get you while they're getting, cause they specially gave us, they specially waited for our table to give us the corner booth, like in the restaurant, one of the best seats in the house.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh dude, it was unbelievable. Like it was, Ian just set up the reservation and just said that, his
friend was coming.
His friend was coming in, and then they all took it an extra mile. So we sit down, and so we finally pick out the wine. Surprisingly enough, Ava wanted to go with a white wine. She said it was summer, and she knows I like white wine, so it was interesting. She loves her red wine, and so we found a bottle of each, and like we weren't going to buy both bottles of wine. We wanted to just pick one, and then we'd get another glass or something if we wanted to. And the bottle of wine that we ended up picking was in between a $600 bottle of wine and a $120 bottle of wine. So ours was hitting that sweet $60 price point where it was like, all right, like a little pricey, but like whatever. That's a new video game. That's all right. In terms of
we'll
what it is.
We'll drink a new video game. No big deal.
Yeah. And it was honestly perfect because we had enough wine, and it was it was good wine that lasted us the whole meal. But so they bring the bottle out, and they're like, "Is this the one? Is this all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because clearly I'm outmatched here. You know what I mean? I am out of my element at this place, like in a whole other tier of. It wasn't like fancy in terms of like snooty, like you had to wear it, but like, it was fancy in the sense of there was the protocol. You could tell this is how things work. They, every time they'd pour water or anything, wipe the table. And like one of the people, because they offer you sparkling or normal water. You can have either or as your water choices. Shit. I know. Right. And, so, Ava got sparkling, I got flat, and they poured a little bit of sparkling water in my glass, and I was like, "Oh no, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, that's fine. I'll just drink the sparkling water." And they're like, "No, like, don't worry about it. I'll just go get you your water." And I was like, "All right, like, no worries." And
they're like, and now I have to wrap my knuckles 40 times with a ruler for messing that up.
I disappointed the head, so yeah, so it was crazy, man, because it's like, you really don't think it, because it is, and it's nothing against the traditional servers, but it's such another level of service that a restaurant like that takes it to, where it is literally like the guest is, whatever they want basically. And it needs to be right. It needs to be in order. It needs to be prim. It needs to be proper. And they were all super cool and super nice. So then we went through, so they sat us, but started them. We got complimentary champagne to start. Like,
Dang.
It was unbelievable. And Ian said, I knew he told me this, but Ian was like, I'm going to destroy you. And I was like, all right. Like, I don't know what that means, but dude. So
you're like, I'm kind of scared.
Yeah. It's like, cause it was like, who knows what we're going to eat? Because originally, the other thing too, I was going to bite the bullet and just pay for the reservation, because I was like, when are Ava and I going to be able to do something like this next? So I was about to just be like, whatever, I'll figure out how to pay for it. I'll make it work. And, but I talked to Ian, and the way he talked, it didn't really seem like Ava being a vegetarian, it might be not worth it's the right word, but worth it in my financial, realm. It was just like, I really don't want to spend all that money, and she has a significantly less experience than I do because of food. But there was exact opposite. They had protein replacements and we also ate very similar things though, so we were able to talk about what we were eating, so that was really cool. But it was just instead of a fish dish that I had, a piece of halibut, she had grilled cucumber. And so it was
dang.
cool to touch. Yeah. So it was really, really cool. And, but dude, yeah, then we get to dessert, which is where Ian, that's his thing.
Yeah.
Dude, we had this crazy, we had his brioche donuts, which were delicious. We had we had the pine cone ice cream, which, dude, it was dope. And
that's so funny.
Dude, it was funny because some of this, they come and tell you that, they give you, they serve you, and then they explain what it is. And Ian did that a couple of times, which is just funny because he takes it really, he's really good at it, but he has to do some quirks that if you just knew him, he doesn't. He has to put his hands behind his back so he doesn't talk with his hands. And his voice is definitely his professional, in this dish, we have tarragon and this and that. Enjoy, It was just
so is he
but it was
is he involved in the preparation process then, or is he a cook, or is he just a server?
So there's stations basically. So there's cooks in each station, and his station is the pastry station and desserts. And so it was really cool because originally what I thought was he was going to be in the back of the house and you weren't going to see it. But no, you see the whole kitchen, the whole kitchen staff. And there is a back of the house, which is, I think, also part of the restaurant downstairs, because they have a still expensive, but actual more traditional restaurant downstairs with a small menu with a really famous burger and mussels and, kind of upscale bar food. But I feel like bar food is not the way to upscale Americana food, so, which we had the burgers there a week ago, because on Tuesdays they have which is actually, in terms of what their prices are and what you'd usually pay, a $16 for a beer, shot, and a burger. And so it's that's, wow. That's a pretty good deal.
I feel like, especially in Chicago too, that's a pretty good dinner deal.
At a place like that too, at a restaurant like that, for sure, it's a great deal, because that's the Loyalist. So technically, it's the Smith and the Loyalist as the whole restaurant. So they get a lot more traffic downstairs because that's just more of a traditional restaurant. But then upstairs, they get to do the more fine dining,
super fancy shit.
Yeah, exactly. But it was cool. So you got to see the whole kitchen working. So I got to watch Ian work. And
that's rad.
Yeah, it was really cool. And but so when Ian brought the pine ice cream out, he was like, I got this. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. All I'm going to say is pine cone ice cream. And I was like, oh, no way. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, he's like, I brought this back specifically for you guys. And I was like, you dog, you.
Wow, so that was an off menu, specialty.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, they haven't served that in 2 months.
Oh my god!
They haven't served it in 2 months. Yeah, I know, right?
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul, can you?
And he gave us a bunch of extra desserts, and at the end, Ava and I were so full. And then he serves and we couldn't finish. We tried bringing it. It's actually in my freezer, but I took a look at it and it did not. They all said it's not going to hold well, and we were like, oh no, we'll just eat it when we got home. And dude, so full. I was so full after. I did not think I would be, but I was so full after. And Ian, he was like, good. I did tell you that. And I was like, all right, you're right. But it was really cool. It an experience I hope to do again, but I don't know when.
So can you confirm for our listeners out there, did you forego your usual attire of sweat shorts and a hat?
I wore a collared shirt, short sleeves though, khaki pants, and no, I did not wear a hat. I had combed hair. Trevor.
Wow. How long did it take you to comb your hair?
I mean, my hair is very short, so
that's fair.
It's good. It's easy. It's simple. But yeah, no, it was a full date night evening with no hat. And for those who don't know, it's like I don't leave the house without a hat, and if I do, it's a very rare occurrence. I wear the same hat, which my hat needs to be retired.
If you leave the house without a hat, then it signals that you're going to be drinking some $600 bottles of wine that evening.
Yes, exactly. No, yeah. So that's the only reason I will be buried in a Colorado Rockies hat. That's for sure. But yeah, no. So it was super fun. Now Ava and I have been doing stuff. We did the classic tourist day yesterday. Saw the bean. Saw the big fountain. Saw the park.
There you go.
So did that, and yeah, we're just going with the flow today. What have you been up to, man? That's kind of my spiel. That was the big exciting thing that's happened was experiencing that restaurant this week.
That's some pretty kick-ass stuff. I was gonna say too, I didn't realize that Ava is vegetarian. I mean, not that it's like a big deal, but I totally.
She's been vegetarian for, I think she told me like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does she eat like
you weren't at the Christmas party? That's why. That's right. You weren't at the. She does eat cheese and eggs. Yeah, dairy and eggs are okay. She went vegan for a little bit, but I can't remember if she didn't like it or if her body was like, hey, no,
like this is
something like that.
This is tough on us. I have a coworker who is she describes herself as vegan-ish because it's just really hard to go like full out vegan and like.
And I feel like that is a good way to like be vegan. Like indulge a little bit every once in a while. Like like stick to your guns. And it's, I don't know, man. It's just there is some stuff that the replacement stuff will be fine, and it's a good substitute. But I don't think there's always a substitute for the original. And I lean more towards that when I'm talking like sweets and pastries and that than the meat products, because like in reality, like if it's all about seasoning and how you cook it plays a big role on that stuff, and you can mimic some stuff, but like there's a difference between a dope chocolate chip cookie that's made with butter and eggs and stuff versus oil-based and plant-based cookies. And again, those cookies, and I've tasted some, bomb, delicious. They are good. But in reality, what makes a good cookie is all the stuff that's bad.
Yeah.
Again, if it's a moral thing and all that stuff, I get that. But
I will say there's a place here in Salt Lake that makes a vegan zucchini chocolate chip cookie, and it is damn good. It's like it gives regular chocolate chip cookies a run for their money.
I think Village Bakery had a lot of vegan options that were really, really good in Athens. Like even like flourless and like and those type of cookies. Like it's really cool to see the innovative ways that people do modify food to make it even a little bit better. Like you still can't be putting down the zucchini cookies. It's not the same as just eating zucchini. But
we always joke that like just because something's vegetarian or vegan or whatever doesn't equal healthy. Like there's unhealthy vegan and vegetarian food.
Yeah, definitely. And but it's but it's also cool like how many ways there are, and I like that it's becoming mainstream, because I think people should definitely take an approach or at least think about it a little bit, to just think about in terms of impacts that it has on themselves and the environment and stuff. But there are also, because there's a consequence attached to it, but it's also like a weird gray area. There's a lot of weird stuff. You wouldn't think that eating food would be so complicated, but here we are. There's always a moral or ethical dilemma, I feel like, with it. But, you know, if you're vegan, you're vegan. If you're vegetarian, you're vegetarian. If you eat meat, you eat meat. You just don't be any of those people that has to rub it in people's faces.
Yeah.
You know, that's the real philosophy. It's like, and honestly, I like when I meet people who are vegetarian or vegan, because what's been cool, and I need to implement it more, but like when I make food for Ava, I get introduced to good vegetarian dishes, which I should be better about, but I can think about like implementing those more into my diet, but that would require me to change my diet of the same food.
Egg noodles.
Egg noodles, chicken, vegetables, and swap the egg noodles out for steak fries or rice. And that's what I'm eating probably almost every meal of the week. Mostly because I know how much I can get out of the grocery store with paying that. So
yeah, that's the real thing.
Eat what you like in moderation and take care of yourself. That's what I'd say.
Don't be an asshole about it.
Yeah, and just don't. We get it.
A mantra to live by.
But we get it for everyone. It's not just the classic vegan slam there. It's like, we get it. You like hog roasted, barbecue slapping,
bacon wrapped, country fried, ultra steak.
It's just like, just chill, dude. Like,
with a side of gravy.
But there's actually what we learned, and we might go check out. It's the Chicago Hot Dog Fest this weekend.
This weekend?
Yeah. So I'll report back after I go. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna see what my roommates say, because Ava and I will go tomorrow or something if they don't want to go, but might wait until Sunday when Ian is off. So, but yeah.
Well, we will stay tuned for your report on the hot dog festival.
You know it.
And to answer your question, what did I do this week? This week was kind of a blur. I did a lot of work, and I live a pretty boring life, Paul.
You're an adult, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I will say though, did you catch any of the what was it, Evo 2019, like the Smash, like the fighting games and Smash tournament and stuff?
I didn't watch any Evo. I saw a little. Well, I saw a couple of highlights. I don't watch a lot of competitive. Sometimes I do, but honestly, I don't watch a lot of Smash because I just don't care nearly as much as them. And I play and / have played so much Smash, and like I watched a lot of Melee with Jeff, because it's like Jeff wanted to watch Melee, and I was like, all right, I don't really care, you know. But like when I watch a fighting game, the fighting game I will most likely tune into is Mortal Kombat, actually, mostly just because I like the way Mortal Kombat looks and the combos and stuff, and I'm so bad at it. It's cool to watch people who are good at Mortal Kombat and then can do all the cool stuff. But another Marvel vs. Capcom, but no, the latest edition that came out a couple of years ago is kind of trash, and no one plays 3 anymore, so don't really watch that. And Street Fighter, haven't watched it, but and Ultimate didn't it hasn't really grabbed me in as something to watch, but it's cool to watch some highlights of every now and then. But no, didn't watch too much Evo, but I mean, mostly because Melee wasn't in it, so I was like, well, yeah,
they were playing Smash Ultimate.
Yeah, Melee not in it for the first time in years, and a lot of people were pumped about it, but I don't know. I don't really see why people are pumped about a game with such good legacy, and I don't know. It's weird. People treat Smash interestingly. I don't know, especially Melee, because there's the two Smash communities, really.
Yeah,
it seems
there's the diehard Melee holy grail of gaming people. Which goes back to our point about the vegans and diets. Don't be an asshole about the games you play. No, I'm just kidding.
I agree.
But
Trevor.
yeah, I just happened to see, I didn't really watch Evo. I just happened to see that there were some highlights and things on Twitter. And I guess there was a pretty big upset in, I think, the Smash Ultimate and in like the Street Fighter.
No, tournament? Sonic Fox lost in Tekken, I think.
Tekken.
Yeah. No, I didn't watch too much of Evo, but yeah, no, like I said, like you said as well, highlights, that stuff. I don't know. I only watch very specific streaming stuff, and I've been watching a lot of speed runs lately, especially from the GDQ events. And Jeff was when I lived with Jeff, he was really into this really good guy, the best at speed running Ocarina of Time. So we watched a lot of that. So that's most of the streams I've been watching. Sometimes I'll watch some RTS streams like Age of Empires or Warcraft, but
dude,
not too much.
I watched a speed run of actually it might have been during Games Done Quick. They had
GDQ.
Yeah, like I always tune in for that because it's usually got some pretty good good characters and some pretty good speed runs. But they had a speed run of, I think it was Dark Souls, and it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. And they the whole time they talked about how like this dude in the speedrunning community figured out this glitch, and then this dude in the speedrunning community figured out this thing, and then like if you want to do this route, like you have to make sure that your game is on build 10.8 or else you won't be able to clip through whatever thing you need to clip through to get the weapon that you need so that you can beat the thing later. And then like they just blasted through Dark Souls like it was nothing and beat the game in like, I don't remember how long it was fast, but it was like just insane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to watch how people break games, and if you like games, it's a great way to experience some of your favorite games in a different way. But if you're looking for one from this past GDQ for Summer Games Done Quick, you should watch the Blindfolded Punch Out Wii run. Really, really, guy beats the whole game blindfolded.
Like Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yes, he's done like there's a whole thing about blindfolded punch out that you could look up, but at this GDQ specifically, they did the Wii version, which also includes him navigating motion controls on the menus blindfolded. So it leads to some interesting stuff. But
so blindfolded punch out is a whole sect of
gaming. Dude, there's definitely a whole community of. There's like a mini YouTube documentary out. You should check it out. It's pretty interesting. I promise.
That's awesome.
But in terms of things that I watched, though, I watched season 2 of One Punch.
One Punch.
It's still good. It's still awesome. It's still very entertaining. But the first season's better because, dude, the second season, you don't get nearly enough Saitama. Like, nearly enough. There's so many other like characters and things they focus on, but the overall storyline of season 2 is really, really interesting and really cool. So, but it's not dubbed yet. It's only subbed, but
so
yeah, you should watch it though, Trevor.
So cool. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I could kind of see why they might do that because I feel like his character is so like it's just such a simple character, and it is like a really fun, interesting character, but I feel like they're maybe worried that viewers will get burnt out on just the same, like, yeah, he just punches people once and that's it. Like, and he's mad.
Yeah, it's more the humor and like his edginess that he brings because he's not really mad all the time, especially not in this one. They do some interesting stuff with what Saitama is like experiencing too in this one. But yeah, it was really, I don't know. I really liked this. Everyone said the animation quality went down, and I mean, kind of. I definitely see some stuff, but like it still is insane. Like the animation that they use, I think looks amazing. But
well, and I love how they pull. Like they pull inspiration from so many like, you know, big animes and like classic, you know, tropes and fight scenes and things like that. It's like, it's really interesting to see that all come together. And then it's like kind of for a comedy, like it's for a joke most of the time.
Yeah, that's what I love about it is because it is like, it really leans into the humor of, or like the intensity of like, I need to give it my absolute ultimate power and do this big move, and then like Saitama just goes and punches him, and dude, it's great, man. But I don't want to tell you anything because you should watch.
Yeah, no spoilers. This is a spoiler-free podcast, Paul.
Yeah, no, if you got Hulu, definitely go check out all of One Punch Man. But season 2, and I don't know. Have you heard of the show The Boys?
Oh, dude.
on Amazon.
So I have like one episode left to watch, but that show is fantastic.
I haven't seen the show yet, but I did read. I've read the first collection of comics, and I want to get the next one. I really liked the comic. It's a little the comic hasn't aged in certain aspects very well. And I wasn't sure because I don't have Amazon Prime. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to watch the show, so I listened to like a spoiler-ish cast. They didn't go too into it, and it sounds like they go pretty far from the comic, at least in the show.
Yes, I've heard
in some aspects.
I was talking to someone about it, and like I haven't read the comic. I've just watched the show, but the show is great. And I was talking to someone about it, and they were saying that like the show is really good, and then they described the comic book as more of American hentai, and I was like, I don't really know what that means, but it doesn't sound like a good thing. Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So definitely. It's just a it's Americanized kind of that.
Yeah, but like in reality, I wouldn't call it that. It's kind of more so when it was written, it was mid 2000s edgy. They use a bunch of slurs for stuff
like
that
dick
you
jokes.
It's like because like a lot of the superheroes, especially, I don't know if they do this in the. Are we going to do any spoilers for this? I mean, I don't know. Well, whatever.
On the show? But yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see.
But I don't know. You don't have to answer it. But like in one of the things, so for those who aren't familiar with the premise of The Boys, it's a group of people who basically not a big fan of superheroes in the superhero world, and they dig up a lot of dirt and know a lot of like these superheroes like might seem on the outside like they're really up and stuff, but they know what they're doing behind the scenes, and a lot of the superheroes are pretty shady, doing some shitty stuff or have done some shitty stuff.
It reminds me a lot of The Watchmen, if anyone's seen The Watchmen.
But it's like Watchmen, but it's kind of answers the question of who watches The Watchmen. Like I heard someone say that. Like I think actually in the foreword of the collection I was reading, Simon Pegg wrote it because the character in the comic book, Huey, his design is off of Simon Pegg in a movie.
Really?
And I think Simon Pegg plays a part in the show, I think, right?
Yeah, he's Huey's dad.
Yeah, so I don't know much about Huey's dad because, I mean, I've read in terms of the comic book, I've read at least like the first few storylines because the collection is huge, a pretty big book. I'm going to get collection 2 because I really like the premise, but sometimes the edginess and some of the like...
You're like, all right, like, come on.
There's a lot of it's like a lot of homophobic slurs and just like the sex is like, ugh, like, do we really need and do we need it like this graphic and like intense? Like, cause like, I don't know because one of the scenes is there's like the Teen Titans-esque group where it's the younger superheroes, but they're all at like a brothel and they're all just like going ham, like going crazy. In the comic, it's like, but it's like fucked up because they explore like how like that's kind of fucked up because the ladies of the night aren't really prepared for this and just they're really debauchery, like some real unhealthy, real fucked up power crazed behavior going on there.
Dude, there is without any spoilers, there's a scene in the show that I was in the middle of eating. I forget what I was eating. I was in the middle of eating something, and when it happened, I was like, "Oh!" And I like put down my food. But my friend who he's been watching it too, he texted me, and he just because I was like, "Oh man, did you watch blah 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 episode?" And he just texted me that screenshot from Futurama that's like death by snoo snoo. If that's a hint at all of what happens in the episode.
Oh boy,
it's pretty rough though. Yeah. Like I had trouble watching it, I
heard the show is very violent, very graphic.
Well, what's interesting is it's like,
but the comic is too. The comic is very graphic.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not a stranger to graphic like movies and shows and things, and like I feel like Game of Thrones has had its share of pretty graphic things, and that's a pretty mainstream show. But something about just like the way they portray like that, it's kind of just everyday life, like they're just kind of normal, everyday people, and then there's like these superheroes that exist, and then like when this really just brutally gruesome stuff happens, it's like. It kind of hits home, I guess, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine, that happening to me, I guess, or, that sort of thing. And it's like, oh, this like makes my stomach churn because it's just so like,
I can, because one I can think of in particular, and I don't think this moment from what I listened to happens, but a different moment with Huey's backstory, why he gets where he is. I'm sure in the show is just as bad as in the comic, because that was like, oh my God, like, whoa, like, and like the drawing that they did of I don't want to spoil it because I know it's a big it's a big like gasp moment at the beginning, so it's just kind of just like remembering what it looked like in the comic, where I'm sure in the show it's probably like, whoa, like pretty wild. So I need to get Amazon Prime so I can watch it because I'm really curious.
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, it's like, I think it's like the first like
Huey's origin episode, story,
and it's like oh dang,
we're definitely on the same page. I know exactly, but
it's a great show though. Definitely, everyone should go check it out.
Yeah, that's this was the pop culture podcast, but I think we're gonna get ready to wind things down here, as it's just the two of us, and we got a couple of things cooking in the background here, so we're gonna get moving on that. But Trevor, a pleasure as always chatting with you.
Before you get rolling too much,
go for it.
I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode, but I think this is episode 10. We've made it through 10 eepisodes, so
thank you for
that's
those
like a milestone or something.
It's a great milestone, man. It's a great first step. That's what we like. That's because that's 10 weeks that we've done the show. That's consistency, baby. And that's what we'd like to see. But thank you for joining us for this episode of the Chat Pack Podcast. You can find us on your favorite streaming services. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Chat Pack Live. And you can find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/chat_pack. Because I'm gonna like I've said a million times, but I'm nailing down what the stuff that I think I'm interested in and want to start looking into pursuing. So, Trevor, thanks so much for hanging out, man.
Yeah, and if you're a Twitter person out there, I've been trying to be pretty active on the Twitter and interact with anyone who wants to interact with us and things like that. So feel free to follow us, tweet at us. If you have ideas for things we want to talk about,
chat along with the Chat Pack. We love social media interaction. But until next week, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you later.
Woo!